Have you ever tried to buy tickets to see your favorite singer or band perform, only to find out prices have skyrocketed because of high demand? Surge or dynamic pricing has been a feature of North American platforms like Live Nation and Ticketmaster for a while, and now it's making its way to Taiwan. In November, the British boy band Blue will start their Asia tour with a dynamically priced concert in Taipei. That's why today we want to take a look at the music event industry and the changes it's undergoing, from ticketing to shifting audience preferences. I'm Tomasz Koper, and this is Connected on Taiwan Plus. We have a very strong lineup for you tonight, but don't worry about the tickets. I got you the best seats in the house. From Taipei, we have Weining Hung, the founder and director of 9Kick, a culture agency specializing in event production and music marketing. And joining us from Sydney is Henry Chen, the head of partnerships at FANSI GO, a Taiwan-based ticketing platform. Weining, I want to start with you. From a music promoter's perspective, are live music events a good business in Taiwan?
Well, I think it depends. If you ask 10 promoters, probably they will give you different type of answers. And there are small promoters, big players. So everybody probably have different kind of point of view. But if you are asking me, we are more like mid, small size promoters. I will say it's a pretty risky business. It's not a bad business, but it's a pretty risky business.
What makes it risky?
I think this is we are talking about a very small market in Taiwan. It's 23 million people, but if you think of the ticket goers, probably it's immediately shrink to a small portion of people as a regular concert goer. We are not talking about K-pop fans or J-pop fans or Mayday fans, because that will be probably half of the country. But as a small, medium-sized indie promoter, we are talking about, in general, a size of concert for about 1,000 to 2,000 tickets, sometimes even smaller, down to 600 cap. So you have to understand your market and understand your audiences very well. And that sometimes can be a miss or hit. So that's why I say nowadays, probably nobody can guarantee that they can predict the market or their fans so well. So it's a highly risky business.
Well, Henry, your field is ticketing, and before we get into specifics and specific issues later in the show, I would like to ask you, what kind of features should a good ticketing platform have? Of course, depending on sort of the size of the event, the size of the venue, and the popularity of the band in question.
Yeah, sure. I think that since the dawn of live shows, ticketing platform has their role is to actually be the middleman between the organizers and also the fans to provide control access to a show. And ticket fundamentally is to make sure that payments go through and tickets get delivered and no frauds at the door, and that's it. So when you talk about good ticketing, they usually mean speed and convenience for the fans and also the artists. And that's not a very high bar, to be honest. And there are a lot of good ticketing systems out there in Taiwan. But that's pretty much just the baseline. I think that what makes a ticketing system great is how it's actually could support the whole ecosystem, the artist, the promoter, and also the fan. So to put to your question, depending on the size and specifics of the events, for smaller or indie promoters like Weining, probably flexibility and marketing are everything, because these organizers wear multiple hats. They are the marketer, they're the community manager, and sometimes even a person checking tickets at the door. I'm pretty sure that Weining has done that before, actually. So I do think that a good system is not about just about selling tickets. It's about giving tools that make the community and the event possible. There are things like fan referral links and fan engagement tools, group tickets, or automatic email follow-ups that can be integrated into a ticketing system that can make a world of difference for these promoters. They can grow their audience and without any tech stack, and allows them to have more profit and to thrive or simply survive. On the other hand, there are these huge mega shows that when you talk about at Mayday, when we're dealing with arena level shows or multi-day festivals, the priorities shift in that case. They count on reliability, they count on data accuracy and scalability. You will need to handle tens of thousands of transactions in minutes and prevent fraud and still make sure every QR code gets scanned at the door. But at that level, organizers still care deeply about data, where the audience is, what they're from, what they buy, so they can make more educated guesses on the next event. So I think that's what kind of features should a good ticketing system have.
Well, Weining, in our previous conversation, you mentioned that Taiwan sees above average numbers of music festivals for the size of its population. Why is that?
I did a small calculation, and I think in the major 6 cities plus Hualien, we have around 130, 150 festivals per year. And majorities of the festivals were actually held by city government or kind of like a big commercial company. But majorities were sponsored or like heavily subsidized by the government. So I think that's one of the main reasons why we got so many festivals. And the other, but this brings to another thing, which is like the government held concert or festivals are usually free. So when I did my very, very simple count, I find about like 70% of the festivals are actually free entrance. And of course, as a private indie promoters, we are sometimes like struggling in ticket sales, and now we even need to compete with the free ticketed festival events, and that could be a big problem.
Well, since you mentioned 6 cities, Hualien, let's take a look at where music events happen in Taiwan and who is raking in the big bucks. Perhaps unsurprisingly, North Taiwan takes the lion's share of events and profit from them, almost 68 and over 58% respectively. What is a bit unexpected, though, is how much South Taiwan is making from music. In 2023, its cities, which include Kaohsiung and Tainan, hosted around 14% of all events in the country, but made over 38% of the money. So, Henry, can you shed some light on the numbers we just saw? Why is the South seeing so much revenue compared to the number of events that happen there?
Well, I do think that the South has honestly become one of the most exciting live event cities in Asia. I do think that we can see that the South has invested heavily in infrastructure and like the Kaohsiung's National Stadium and the Music Center and that. You see that they just don't want to be just a stop on a tour. They want to be like in the capital, and also they are kind of creating like a destination experience, because when fans travel there for a concert, they're not just watching a show, they're making a weekend out of it. And so it's hotels, it's restaurants, it's sightseeing, the spend is higher, so it's the whole package because it's more of an experience than just going to a concert.
Oh, can I also add something?
Of course, go right ahead.
Yeah. So I guess it's because we just saw like last weekend, it was a Blackpink concert in Kaohsiung, and Kaohsiung actually painted the whole city pink and also make like a city campaign. I think that's also one of the reasons why the South Taiwan have like higher revenues, because majorities of the event there are very high value events like K-pop shows. And also the biggest festival in Taiwan, Megaport, is also held there, and the ticket price is also higher than average. And there are other few festivals in Tainan, including the one I used to manage called Luckfest. And last weekend we had Vagabond. So I think that could maybe sum up with the reason that's why South Taiwan has such a high revenue compared with Taipei.
Well, to fill some of those big venues that Kaohsiung has, you really need to kind of drum up the fan base. So, Weining, I'm going to stay with you here. For artists, for musicians, and people working with them, for example, their promoters, how should they optimize the experience of buying tickets, sort of everything that leads up to the event itself, in order to keep them satisfied, to keep them happy, to make the experience so good that they will come back for the next concert?
I think like what Harry already mentioned, that's like smooth and the convenience is what most of the fans require as a basic. And if a fan wants to buy a ticket and find it's so hard to register or so hard to be able to get that ticket by one click, because sometimes when the traffic is too high, they just cannot buy or they will be kicked out by the system. It happens a lot in Taiwan. So I think as a fan, the basic requirement is that. But of course, I think fans will appreciate like the information before the show. That's but nowadays usually it's through promoters' social media that they broadcast a lot of information to the fans. But I do think people still check their emails, and it's also a more concentrated way to receive information. I think it will still be nice that through the ticket system that you can spread those pre-event information, like how you should get into the venue and when and what kind of merch you can get, all this kind of information. Yeah, that's probably what a fan will be happy with. But with the promoter, that's a different story. Promoter always want function that can help to sell tickets, especially when the ticket sales is slow. So sometimes, for example, even before the event, we will think of like a promo code to maybe to activate the first hardcore fans of these artists. And we find it's extremely hard. That we almost cannot find the function available in any ticket system while we were doing this research. And maybe Harry's platform have, but I don't know. But this is one of the things we really are looking for. And of course, there are so many other things we want from the ticket side, but mainly it's about promotion, about ticket sales. That's the most important thing.
Well, we will discuss a few more systems that are coming to Taiwanese ticketing platforms in the second part of the show. But before we get there, I do want to mention surge pricing or dynamic pricing that I briefly mentioned in the opening. Henry, what's your take on this mode of ticketing coming to Taiwan?
Honestly, I do think that our company had internal discussion about this as well. Dynamic pricing or surge pricing, whatever you call it. I do think that this is one of the things that sounds great and reasonable in the economic point of view, but it can go very wrong. You forget about the human motion in the ticketing process. Because in economics, I think it is logical, it is simple, price and demand, and prices should probably raise with demand. So artists and promoters could capture more value instead of scalpers. But in culture and in marketing and business, to be frank, the emotion sometimes matters more than just pure logic, especially that's the case in the entertainment industry. Because if a fan had waited for years to see their favorite artist and suddenly see the price double or triple just overnight when they click into the ticketing system, it may feel like betrayal from the artists. And while artists do want to make money and promoters do want to profit, they will absolutely think twice if it might lead to bad publicity. That's why I think that implementation and communication when it comes to dynamic pricing, or surge pricing, are the key there. If fans know how the system works and trust that it's fair, dynamic pricing has the possibility to be a win-win situation. Maybe you can make early supporters get first access or lower prices, or maybe returning fans can get loyalty discounts. Then the dynamic pricing kicks in. That way, you may be rewarding people, the core fans that genuinely care, and not punishing them at a higher price.
So Weining, what are your thoughts on surge pricing? Do you see any upsides for all parties involved, the artists, the promoters, the platforms, and maybe most importantly, the fans?
It's a pretty logical things to do for a ticket system and even for promoter, because it's a demand from the market, and it's just like Uber or Booking.com in a way. But we should also remember that we are trying to sell a product which is not just a product. It's a performance. It's basically human being. So this kind of system may cause a lot of anger or a backlash from the fans, and it could also damage the relationship between fans and artists, or the promoter with fans forever. So I think if this really goes into, it's going to be live, so we could closely monitor the system in Taiwan, and also this could give us some lesson that maybe this system can be working, but needs some adjustment, like the limit of the top, or to put other mechanisms into the system.